Hello friends, in this video we are going to discuss about Java and its inheritance concepts. Till now we have discussed about the basic members of the class. We will try to recap those things. The basic members of the class were instance variables, methods, and then constructors. These are the three basic members of the class. Now we need to discuss about the further concepts. Java is basically using 4 object oriented programming concepts. In that, one we had discussed related to overloading, that is called as polymorphism. We will be discussing something related to inheritance. Okay. Basically, inheritance means acquiring the properties, right? To make it as simple as possible, is basically acquiring the properties. Usually, always, whenever we try to acquire the properties, we also need to consider some of the pros and cons of it. That's what we need to understand when we are discussing about inheritance in the Java language, programming language. What we are going to do is, right now we will just start with a simple program execution and start understanding the inheritance concepts. Whenever I try to work with the Java, it's basically always I'll be working with the class itself. So there's a class, and if there is one more class which needs these properties, what we can do is we can just go ahead and say extends. Let's assume something like this. There's a class called as A. There is some functionality inside this class, blah 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 functionality is available. Now this class can't be modified due to some reason. Okay, so but still I need some properties of this class. So what would I do? Class B extends A. So when I do this, what happens is all the members of this class will be available here. So this extends is a simple keyword which will help us for inheriting the class A functionality in class B. So class B becomes this class B becomes the subclass, and this class A becomes the superclass. The one more thing what you need to observe is people will say this is the base class and this is the subclass. I am not sure, but I always consider as superclass and subclass. They are derived class, they say base class, derived class. There are many ways people will identify the superclass and subclass. It's up to you, but you need to understand, if at all the members of the class or the functionality of the class has to be inherited, we just go ahead and say extend. There are some restrictions which slowly I try to understand. Inheritance is a very huge concept, although it looks very simple, acquiring the properties, but this becomes very complex when you start understanding things in Java language. So there is no end to learn inheritance. Every now and then you will be learning new things in inheritance. So we will start off with understanding the inheritance concept with some basic class concepts. So we will not start with class box today. We will start with class A, which has 3 instance variables. There is one method. I will not have a constructor for now. We will bring in a method A, B and C, W, A, H. There is a hello method available which just prints out some, flushes out some SOP statement. So it will just basically the duty of this method is to just print the hello. Okay, now I want some other class to acquire this functionality. So what would I do? I will just go ahead and say class B extends A. So now what happens? All the members of the superclass will be visible in the subclass. This class can have some extra members. So I will mention this as int z. I can have some other methods also. We will not have constructor for now. I just mentioned this as one method SOP of test. It's in the double quotes. That's all. I can have one more method also. Open lambda. It's very hot here. I'm sweating, especially in India. Summer is very hot. It's the same in every place, but still I'm feeling very hot nowadays. So this is basically two different classes which is in relationship with each other. Class B is the subclass and class A is the superclass. Class B is having some members, class A also has some members. The members of class B will not be visible to class A. That means superclass will not be having any knowledge of the subclass, but subclass will be having the complete knowledge of the superclass. Clear with this? Subclass will be having the complete knowledge of superclass, but superclass will not be having any knowledge of the subclass. Now, if at all I want to work with this class, how would I work with this class? What I am going to do is, inside this, here I will just draw a partition so that you people can understand. I should have written things small. Okay. Anyways, I will just create an object of this. A is equal to new A. So what has happened inside the memory? One memory has been allocated referred by A. What are the values right now? WHND is still 0, 0 and 0. When I say A dot fun of 1, 2, 3, the value gets updated to 1, 2 and 3. So now through A, what are the members I can access? I can only access members called as WHND, fun and hello. I will not be able to access any other members, not the subclass members. The superclass doesn't have any knowledge of subclass when the object gets created, right? Now I can also go ahead and say B is equal to new B. This can be done, right? So when I do this, what has happened? One more memory gets allocated, but inside this memory there is a partition for superclass. It's not a partition, but logical partition will not be there inside the memory, but just for observation or for understanding I am creating this. Z would be there, some other members would be there. At this point of time the values will still remain 0 itself, but through B, just because the subclass has the knowledge of superclass, B dot fun I can invoke. I can pass out the values. I can say 4, 5, 6. This I can do. So what happens inside this memory? The values gets updated to 4, 5 and 6. Again through B I can access hello. Through B I can access open lambda. And also through B I can access fun, already I am accessing, test also I will be able to access. All the 4 APIs I will be able to access. See, this value of 1, 2, 3 is restricted only for this particular superclass variable. Okay, A is just a superclass object, but still it is a object of type what? Superclass. B is a object of type subclass. Through this subclass variable I will be able to access all the members of superclass as well as subclass. Through A, if you try to access test or open lambda, it is going to throw you an error, or the compilation will not allow you to do this, just because superclass will not be having any knowledge of subclass. This is the basic concept of inheritance. Nothing apart from that is fancy about inheritance, but slowly when we start working with multiple other keywords in Java, it becomes complex. We will try to understand then and there. Okay. Now what we can do is we will go ahead and see the execution of this program, so that people will be comfortable with this. So now there is a class demo which is there, which has having the main method. There is one more class called as A, which has 3 instance variables, fun method and hello. Class B, which has 1 instance variable and test. I have created an object of superclass. I can invoke the fun method and hello method, which is available in the superclass. That is definitely possible. This is also done. And in hello, through B also I will be able to access the hello method. This is pretty clear. When I execute this, I will be able to see the values. Now see, through B I am trying to access just because inside, when I create an object of this, there is a new memory location, and in the new memory location I do not have any values assigned to W. So now the values will still remain as 0 itself, but if I go ahead and say B dot fun of, I will update the values as 45, something 34, 23, and then go ahead and say B dot hello, it gives me the respective value. See, instead of 0 it gives me the value as 45, right. Initially it was 0, when I invoke the fun method it become this one, and when I do this, A remains as it is itself. A value will never be changed. Sorry, A remains 1 itself. You can print the A value, just make sure that to learn Java you need to use lot of SOP statements. See, 1 remains as it is. Inside this memory location the value of W is still 1 itself, whether you update into subclass or, because those two are two different memory locations. So you need to be very careful with these things. Through B I can access all the other members. Let me try to access A dot, there was a method, right, test. Let me try to access test. What will our compiler say? Let us say, not our compiler, the Java compiler. Okay, it does not allow you. It says create method. Why should I create? It is already available. The method test is undefined for the type A. In type A there is not, in type A there is no method called as test available. That is what the compiler is saying to you guys, and it is of type A, right. A is a variable of type A and A is a superclass. So in superclass I do not have any test API. So that is about inheritance introduction. We will slowly discuss more about inheritance concepts in the further sessions. Thank you guys, thanks for watching the video. If you like this video, please give the thumbs up and do subscribe for the channel. Thank you.